Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I've been having a good old play with the contents of the July Scrawlr Box before I have a go at the challenge, this month's challenge. So I thought I'd come back and show you how I've been getting on and what I've been trying out. And then I will do a speeded up process film of my attempt at this month's challenge. And the challenge word this month is Nebula, which is perfect for the contents of this month's box, which is these. you can see how much I've been playing with these alcohol inks. So these are Marabou. I'd tried alcohol inks before, not for some time, but I have tried them before, but not this brand, Marabou, and I'm loving them. I love the tops. I love the way the bottles are. I love the colours that we've got, and I would certainly buy them again. Don't know how they compare price-wise with others because I haven't looked that up. But so what we've got to play with is two colours. We've got the magenta and the Caribbean, which is a lovely blue, turquoisey blue. We've got the Diamond Sparkle, which is clear and extremely sparkly. It's got a blender ball in there, you can hear, but you really need to give it a good squeeze. I haven't managed to use it yet without getting all over my hands. Yeah, you can see I had a few accidents before I decided I really would need to put some gloves on. Also in the box we got a little brush, a little round #1 brush, a pipette and a straw for blowing the ink around with. Now with the challenge, we're not supposed to use anything, we're only supposed to use the products from the box. Oh, and of course, mustn't forget, we've also got a pad of 10 sheets of yupo paper. Yupo paper, if you've not come across it, is brilliant stuff. It's not really like, it's a synthetic paper, it's not like paper at all. It's almost like a very thin plastic, but I can't describe it. There's nothing else is quite like yupo. You can use alcohol inks on other non-porous surfaces, and I've got a couple to sort of try out so you can see, but nothing else works quite in the way yupo does. I love it, it's lovely stuff. I've also got a big pad somewhere of a translucent version of yupo. So this is a classic version of should have thought of less is more, but you know, I was experimenting with all the different techniques I could try and end up absolutely covering one of my sheets of yupo paper. But I had a lovely time playing with it. I have got my window open. You do need to work in a well ventilated area with this because basically, you know, these are alcohol based, so it's solvents, so yeah, you need to be well ventilated. So without further waffling on, let's crack on. I've made some little notes for myself of all the different things I've tried, so I can try and remember to show you a bit of everything. So one of the first things I had to go at was to mix the colours. So we've got this lovely magenta and kind of turquoisey blue, and I wanted to get a purple for my kind of galaxy effect I've got in my head. So I happen to have these because I do some UV resin work. I happen to have these little mixer pots, so I mixed up a lovely purple and I'm going to do that now just to show you. And I just did roughly equal amounts of both the colours. It's lovely to have 10 sheets of yupo to play with, it really is. And like I say, nothing else is quite like yupo for alcohol inks. Okay, so so this is the first thing I tried, was just mixing up these colours, and this I think will give me a nice deep purple. There we are. And you can drop more and more in and get the colour deeper and deeper. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit. Yeah, so you can let it dry and drop a bit more on. One of the things definitely with these inks is, in much the same way as with watercolours, you need to give it time, be patient, and to some extent let the medium do its own thing. So just to give you a little close up. So I've actually got quite a smooth layer of colour in the middle, but you've got that lovely kind of interesting ring happening around the outside, which I really like. Oh, did I? I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. But as well as those two colours and the sparkly one, we've also got this extender. So this is just a clear. Now I wondered if it was, shouldn't sniff it like I just did, if it was just some IPA, isopropyl alcohol, but it's not. There's something more to it than that. It smells different from that, and although you can use IPA to dilute alcohol inks and make them run and things better, this kind of extends the drying time more and behaves in a slightly different way, so it's not the same thing. But if you did want a cheap alternative for cleaning the brush and just diluting them a little bit and helping them to move, I do keep a huge giant bottle of isopropyl alcohol, which would be quite a budget friendly version, and I've got a little bit of that in this tiny pot that I just keep cleaning my brush in. So that was mixing them up. Now I then tried adding some of the sparkle. So this is the diamond sparkle. Give that a really good shake. I'm tempted to find that sometimes it wants to come out the nozzle and, oh, see, let's jump straight on the, oh, it's so gorgeous though. I found I definitely need a rag with me. I don't know if the camera is picking up that amazing twinkle before I do anything at all with it. I don't know how well that's going to show. But having just dropped a little bit into this, but I'm going to drop more in now. I want more. Oh, it's so, in real life, I promise you, in real life this is amazing. This is with the sparkle in it. And so you can see you've got that purple, but it's catching a beautiful twinkle as well. I just want to put some on there now, see what happens. You just end up just playing and playing with this stuff. Look at that. It looks like an iris. It's just waiting for a pupil. Oh, now see, that's giving me an idea. You see? God, how pretty. And all I had to do there was drop it and just sit and watch and let it do its thing. You can also drop some of the extender into it. To dilute it more. If you wanted to, it's interesting, it's left like a blue stain under there, and then it's like the blue is staining while the red is still moving around. Wherever I first put the brush down, stains blue. Another thing you can do, I'm going to do it straight on my glass mat, is put some of the ink down. So I use a couple of different colours, and I use a bit of the extender as well. And then you can just take the paper and swipe it down. And that, even just doing that, it's just such a pretty effect. So you could do a whole wash over the background, which I might try in a minute. You can also mask. Now I'm going to do this for my challenge piece, that's what I've cut these ready for. I've actually used circle dies to cut a couple of circles out of some of the yupo paper. If I wasn't trying to only use the products in the box, I probably would have used some sticky masking paper for this instead, but I did want to try and use the products in the box. So I'm going to use these as a mask for some planets, and then I can use the reverse part of the mask to protect the background while I work on the planets. That's my idea, but I'll show you that in a minute. So, but the idea is you would put this down as a mask. Work on the background a bit. Do whatever you want to that. I'll show you in a minute, but just to give you a rough idea. Oh, I hate having gloves on, I can't do anything. And it won't have masked completely, but it would just give you that shape. If you wanted it to mask completely, it probably would be better with a masking paper, but just to show that you can do that. You can also use stencils in the same way, and you can even use alcohol inks on gel plates as well. I've seen people do some amazing things. I haven't tried that myself, but I know you can. So when they're dry, you can reactivate. So I've dropped in a bit of the extender there, and now I'm dropping in a bit more of the blue. And then I can use my brush and my straw to blow around. And you can see that the colour underneath is moving as well. So this is all very haphazard. This is just me playing. This is how this sheet started off, just with me playing around to see what the paint does and what the ink does. And I think you really need to give yourself time to do that. Really, really play with it and just explore everything it can do and get used to how it behaves. I think that's really important to give ourselves time to do that. Some of the extender on first, and then drop in some of the ink. Oh, even that's beautiful, isn't it? So it's kind of, the more extender you use, the wetter it is, the more freely it moves around. Like the wetter it is, the kind of easier it is to work with, and you can get these amazing effects without really doing anything much at all. Then you can either wait for it to dry and drop more in, or try dropping a bit more in now, see what happens. Look at that. I always quite like having a drop and then dropping another colour or some of the extender right into the middle of it. Ooh. Let's try a bit of the sparkle, shall we? That sparkle is beautiful. The sparkle seems to almost work a little bit like the extender as well. I suppose because it's clear, but it's moving the inks. Now, although this was the brush we had in the box, I just wanted to show you another kind of brush. These are silicone brushes, and these are lovely for using with alcohol inks as well. They just seem to move around really nicely with them. I'm really good at manipulating the ink. You can move them around with credit cards as well. Another thing that's quite fun I discovered is to add water in to the mix, which weirdly seems to dry off quite quickly. I don't quite understand how. So that was water. I just sprayed water, and I'm just letting that drop expand and do its own thing. You can take, that's the colour, so if I use this mixed up colour and just spatter it in like that, that's quite fun. So that's into wet, that's onto dry, straight into water. Oh, look at that. Obviously you can also spatter in the extender. Oh, that's a big spatter. If you take a little bit of the extender, I'm just going to pop it on my glass mat, just a little bit there. You can use either the other end of the paintbrush, and you can do little dots, or I'm going to put some of the extender in this pot. I also use, let's make sure I get the right end, I also tried using the end of the straw. And then this was the inside of a bobbin of ribbon. So that gives me a nice circle shape. So you can get some nice shapes with that. And even though I've just been playing around on this, oops, I've got stuck to the thing. Even though I've just been playing around on this, it's starting to look really pretty, isn't it? In this area, you might be able to see, I've done a sort of lifting technique with bubble wrap. So all I've done is squeeze a bit of the extender on here, dipped my bubble wrap into it, and then I press down and lift it up, and you get that. Oh, I put too much that time. Let's do it here. That's better. A bit more subtle. That I've just obliterated it. Oh, let's put some of the pink on as well. I've got some of this foiling stuff. Now, when you get it to just tacky but not wet stage, you can foil it. I think this is all now dried too much. I did some on here. I caught it at just the right point. See where that twinkle is just here? That was quite a thick layer of the alcohol inks, and when that got to the stage where it was just tacky to touch, I just pressed down the foil, rubbed on it and pulled it off, and it just did that, which is quite fun. I have a little bit on there. So these are the old, I think it was Ranger. Did Ranger make these? Back in the day when, years ago when we had alcohol inks, we used to use these things with little felt. They were rectangular ones. I can't find those, but these will work. And what we would do is drop the inks on like this. Let's have a bit of a sparkle, shall we? And then we would sort of pants it on like that. So that's quite fun to try as well. Oh, look at that. I can't bring myself to pants because that is just too pretty. That's quite a fun little thing to try as well. I'm sure you could just cut a piece of felt and, find some other way of, you could cobble this together with stuff you've got in your house, I'm sure. Water I've mentioned. That water thing was, so I'm just going to try the water thing again down here because that really was quite fun. It just kind of seems to like break it a little bit. I'll put the extender in with the water to see what happens. Oh, look at that purple, where the purple mixes. And you can almost see the water and the alcohol fighting there. So they did say that it reactivates with the extender. I don't know how well it really reactivated. It does, but not completely. So that is just playing with it, really. That's all the different kind of techniques and things that I tried. Even just that, like experimental dobbing around. It's still got some really pretty bits, and I think probably what I would do with this is cut it in half and make them into a background for a card. I'd end up putting a big background die cut on it or something with these colours and patterns just peeking through. There's certain little bits of it I really love, like that around the edges there, and these bits just here I really like, and these actually where I was just like experimenting with putting the brush down with some extender on it, splattering the different colours over the top like that. Was quite fun. In fact, I'm going to do a bit more of that just there because I don't know, because I want to. Oh, that is the playing bit. I'm going to have... Oh, no. There was one more playing bit I wanted to show you. I knew there was... I had it in the back of my head. There was something I was forgetting, and I'm right. I just wanted... Because, we've got 10 sheets of yupo paper there to play with, which is lovely. But it is quite expensive stuff. So, when we run out of yupo paper, what else can we use? I've got a sheet of... This is like the cheapest everyday, bought it in Staples or Sainsbury's or something. Photo paper. It's not one of the better brands. It's a cheap one. So we'll see how that works. Also, a bit of acetate to try it on. And also, this. I thought it might be fun to try. This is, as you can see, the inside of a bag of rice. This is the rice I use all the time. And I thought it'd be quite fun to try that. Should work. So I'm just going to literally see how well it paints on. I'll use the same paint on each one just to see. See, there's no way that has sunk straight into that. There's no way you're going to be able to move that around, blow it around the paper or anything. So, no, I would call that a fail. It's just, oh, it's come straight through. See, with yupo, it doesn't even come through. Those bits there are where I've picked it up with my dirty hands. It's not actually come through at all, although the paper's quite thin. So that, I would say, is a non-starter. Oh well, that's worth a try. So, photo paper fail. That's a shame. I can still print. I can still print a couple of photos on the other parts of that sheet, so that's fine. Let's try this. It'd be nice if it does work, because it might be really handy for miniatures and things. Well, I suppose the thing is I'm going to have to let it dry. I'm not sure how well that's working. Yeah, that's a pretty good coverage actually, and it's smoothing out as it dries. So I'd leave that for a minute to properly dry. Just have a little piece of packaging or something. See how well that works. So if this did work, it'd be great for doing things like stained glass windows on miniatures and things. So I hope it does work. It's got the sparkle in it too in the extender. I mean, possibly if I used it neat. Let's just try. Yes, I think that goes down as a success. That's given a nice coverage, and I think that's already dry. Is that already dry? Oh, no, it's not. What's the point of putting gloves on if every time I want to touch it, I just take them off again? Oh, what would happen if I foiled over the top? I'll soon tell if it's already dry, because yeah, they're not picking up there's only one little spot where they picked it up. But yes, that's given a really nice smooth coverage now. I'll try this. Oh. Let's hold this against something white so that you can see. I mean, that's not pretty in itself. It's not a pretty design, is it? But the possibilities there. Yes. Right, anyway, those were just ideas for using maybe things that you might have lying about. I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up, get rid of all the stuff that didn't come in the box, and then I'm going to have a go at the challenge. Right, I've had a bit of a tidy up, put everything else out the way. So all I've got is, oops, got two sheets there. A sheet of my yupo paper and the things that came in the box, the pipette, the straw, the little brush. I have got extra some of my cheap isopropyl alcohol just in a little pot just to wash my brush with in between. I mean, you could use the extender for that, I'm sure, but it just seemed a bit wasteful because I'm sort of going through that. That's already down to, I've used about a third of it. So that's the extender. I've got the lovely diamond sparkle clear one, the magenta and the Caribbean lovely blue colour. In one of my little shot pots, I've mixed up a nice deep purple with roughly equal amounts of the blue and the magenta. I've got a couple of spare pots in case I want to do any more mixing. And yes, and my little thing of IPA. And my little stencily masky thing that I've cut for myself out of some more of the yupo paper, and I use circle dies for this. My little die cutting machine, but I mean you could do that with a knife if you wanted to and you didn't have a die cutter. So the challenge word is nebula. My idea is to have a couple of planets here with a nebula going in and around them. So I'm not going to talk all the way through this. I've already talked about the different techniques I've been experimenting with. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to be playing and hopefully coming up with a pretty nebula at the end of it. So I will put this on speed tune, play you some pretty music, and I will come back and show you how I got on at the end. Wish me luck. Well, that's a bit of a mess. I think I went too far. I'm going to have another go and maybe know when to stop this time. Right, I think I've finished playing with these inks for now. I'm feeling a little bit lightheaded from inhaling all the fumes, if I'm honest. So I need to stop that for a while. Well, I've ended up with a cup. They're very pretty. I think they'd make really nice backgrounds for something, but I'm not sure I'm happy with them in their own right. I discovered that less is definitely more, and I'm not very good at knowing when to stop. And where I've left the white spaces here are some of my favourite bits, because it looks like the kind of light that you get in these nebulae. This one's sort of more purpley and less pinky. I prefer that one because it's got more contrast of light and dark and the colours as well. This one's more sort of all over. I still enjoyed it, and when I look close up there's lots of bits that I like. As I say, I just feel like it's more like a background for something than a piece in its own right. But then I could maybe make it the background for something. So there's my finished little pieces. That's probably my favourite. That's probably my one for the challenge. Quite like how it looks like it's got light in it like a real Nebula. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that one in the end. This one I like as a background, but I need to give it a focal point of some kind. I'll have to have a bit of a think about that. Really enjoyed getting messy with these alcohol inks, and I certainly like this Marabou brand that I hadn't tried before. Yupo paper, lovely to use. Expensive stuff, but it's just like nothing else is quite like it. So yeah, another brilliant box. Really enjoyed it. Hope you found that useful. Hope you enjoyed watching that. Thanks ever so much for joining me today, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.